Chapter 44. Age 783, Training Planet C. It had been 9 months since I'd killed Indivaya, taking my revenge against the royals for their betrayal against me. In the time since, I'd made sweeping changes for the Scion Empire, revamping everything that we stood for. Where before we took over planets, selling them to other empires for profit, or breaking them down for their resources, we now worked for peace. I'd put down several coups and assassination attempts, all with little trouble. Thankfully, no other Scions in the Empire were close to my strength. The only Scion I had any reason to worry about was Broly, but he had long since proven his friendship and loyalty. I was counting down the days till Beerus would arrive for our second battle, knowing that it was right around the corner. I can only hope that my training since has given me the advantage. I think, watching Broly warily. It had been quite a long time since I'd fought someone friendly that was actually in my league. I wish I had paid more attention in the past, as I'd probably have leveled much more. Combat has started. Enemies. Broly LVL 32. 680,000 XP. During a simple training exercise with Broly, as I was worn down and our power levels got closer and closer, I'd gotten an alert telling me that combat had started. I was such an idiot at times. How did I forget that I gained experience from fighting random allies years ago, before I started to really outstrip everyone in power? Either way, I had spent the past several months training with Broly in between working to fix what this empire stood for. Having a training partner whose power level only goes higher and higher as they fight, whose limits are seemingly non-existent, is a boon I could only have previously dreamed of. Broly's fire-covered fist slams into the ground, where I had been musing just seconds before. A crack half a mile wide spreads across the landscape in its wake. With a pop, I disappeared and reappeared at his side, his hand already in place to catch the knee I was leading with. The air around us boiled as our fiery energy scorched the very sky, the weather for hundreds of miles around changing swiftly in response to the energy. My fist slams into Broly's left, right, left, knee over and over, as the speed and fury of our attacks ramp up in response to the need to simply be better. As it was, I only had access to the imperfect version of Super Saiyan God, while Broly had access to the complete form. For the time being, he was much stronger than I was. One of his hits slips through, slamming into my solar plexus like a freight train, my body bouncing off the ground like a flat rock skipping across a pond. I roll, getting to my feet as I slide across the ground, pushing my energy together, and up. The ground around me disappears as my energy reaches a fever pitch, the fiery aura turning pink and shattering as I ascend to Super Saiyan Rose. Broly grins from where he watches before his energy seems to almost twist within itself. A bright pulse of energy, like a flashbang grenade, lights up the entire hemisphere as Broly does what only Broly can do. Where my own aura and hair was pink, his is a dark luminescent green. I blast back towards him, the fabric of reality shattering around us as my fist slams into his cheek, launching him backward. While Broly is stronger than me while we're Super Saiyan gods, I have the advantage when we ascend further. It's not much, maybe 7 to 10%, but when your power level is in the trillions, 10% is a huge amount. Super Saiyan Rose had other advantages over Broly's unique version of Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, such as better energy control, but he was slowly closing the gap. Much like his normal power level, the longer he used his forms, the stronger he got. He was under a perpetual Zenkai, and frankly, I was jealous. Broly was immediately back on the offensive, but the higher speed I had from the extra energy allowed me to slip most of his attacks. He spun, his shin slamming down on my forearm, the attack barely blocked above my head. I could see his intention to rotate, use my arm as a fulcrum to bring his other leg up to kick me in the face. I could see the move in real time, playing out in my mind. I opened the hand of the arm blocking his kick, a wave of energy slamming into Broly and carrying him back. I use instant transmission to make 3 short jumps before I'm in his guard. Several galaxy-crushing blows slamming into his stomach and side, before putting all my power into a rising uppercut that sends him flipping away. He lands on his hands and knees, before quickly raising a hand in my direction. I bring up both hands, a ball of roiling pink energy forming almost instantly. I yield. Broly calls out, his outstretched hand a sign of submission. Combat has ended. Enemies. Broly LVL 32. 680,000 XP. 8606,000 XP. /9000000 XP. Plus 680,000 XP. Dash 286,000 XP till level 25. Level up alert. I let the attack fade away before popping over to him. You okay? I ask. Broly gets back to his feet, before looking up into the dark sky high above us. Yes, I'm fine. I sense something far off in space. I think Beerus may be on the move. I could not sense him when he came to the Supreme Kai, but the power I felt just now is how I would imagine it to be. Shit. Alright, yeah. It is about that time. We need to get back to planet Scion then, I say before dropping back to my base form. Broly does as well, before reaching out to place his hand on my shoulder. With a slight twist of my energy, we're gone. Planet Scion 2 days later. I'd spent 2 days waiting for the arrival of Beerus. I knew time was closing in on when he would be back, and with Broly sensing him out in the universe, I had to expect he'd be here soon. After we'd returned from our training planet, I'd finished leveling up, choosing the level 25 restricted feat perfect Super Saiyan God. Where before I had access to an imperfect variation of Super Saiyan God, the version given by the ritual, I now had access to the same one Goku and Vegeta used. The power difference between the two was definitely noticeable, with the imperfect variation hitting max at 24T, while the perfect version maxed at 36T. My new max power level, with Super Saiyan Rose, was 43T. Even with the better variation of Super Saiyan God, Broly still had the advantage until we ascended further. I thought before closing out my stat sheet. I clearly had quite a bit further to go, knowing that I could level to at least 40, plus all the different forms. I'd turned into a Golden Oozuru twice, so I knew that Super Saiyan 4 was reachable, even if I had yet to manage it. "Hey Broly," I asked, getting his attention. "When was the last time you transformed under a full moon?" "Never. My father warned me multiple times to never look at the full moon. He said that the transformation would most likely kill me, as my body wouldn't be able to handle the power. I was already very strong, even as an infant." He replies, "If we survive this, we'll have to test it out. There is a form available to those that transform after unlocking Super Saiyan. Your version is probably unique, like your Super Saiyan green form." I tell him, "Could we name it something other than green?" Broly asks, after several moments of silence, "Well, what do you suggest?" I ask, "You've told me that among our people, I am the legendary Super Saiyan, correct?" Broly asks. After I nod, he continues, "Then it should be called Legendary Super Saiyan God." I nod for a moment, repeating it in my head. It's not overly pretentious, considering I keep naming attacks after myself, and it does have a nice ring to it. "All right, man, yeah. Legendary Super Saiyan God it is." I tell him, "Legendary?" A voice asks from the large doorway to the royal chamber. My eyes slide from Broly's face to the intruder in my doorway. Beerus, along with Whis, has finally arrived. I stand up from the throne and make my way over to them, Broly following behind me. I stop a few feet away from them, my eyes never leaving Beerus's. Whis. Do you think they are trying to be intimidating?" Beerus asks over his shoulder casually. "Perhaps, my lord." Whis responds in his usual chipper tone. Reaching up, I tap a few different buttons on my scouter, before popping it off and throwing it to the side as it begins to beep. With a push, I ascend straight to perfected Super Saiyan God, my power level shooting to 36T. While Super Saiyan Rose was the stronger form, its stamina drain was more than I wanted to give right now. Super Saiyan God, however, used less than 10% of the stamina that Rose did, and was only 15% less powerful. A more than fair trade, I felt. Either way, it was a fire-wreathed fist packing the energy of an angry god that slammed fully into Beerus's chin, launching him away and high above the city. Combat has started. Enemies. Beerus LVL 39. 7-250-000 XP. In the milliseconds that followed, I was catching up to Beerus in midair, Broly's blazing form following right behind me. We'd talked a lot about what strategy we'd employ to defeat Beerus. The only way that truly made sense was an all-out offensive. Give it everything we have. Overwhelm him with attacks, and don't stop till we have nothing left. I shift into Super Saiyan Rose the moment I catch up to him. Spinning to his right, so my heel slams into his midsection like a sledgehammer, doubling him over. I drop back to Super Saiyan Rose, as Broly ascends to Legendary Super Saiyan God, his uppercut launching Beerus upwards on a trajectory to low planet orbit. I grabbed Broly's hand, a twist of my energy shattering the universe around us as we reappearing feet behind Beerus in the upper atmosphere. I push back into Rose, Broly next to me as we slam into Beerus. I could feel strength of conviction kick in, the small +5 bonus to my strength, pushing me to 37T and 44T respectively. Not much, but the boost was welcome. Broly slipped back into Super Saiyan God to save stamina. As I used the extra energy, I now had to catch Beerus with a haymaker that would have killed any lesser being. With a crash like shattering glass, a purple aura explodes from Beerus as he screams, "Enough!" Broly and I are tossed back, but quickly reorient ourselves. Beerus's power level, which already felt like a lake, swells massively as he goes on the offensive. He appears in my face, his fist slamming into my hastily raised defense, smashing through like it wasn't even there. I managed to reorient myself a few hundred feet away, just in time to see Broly move into the next stage of the plan. As a large ball of roiling energy formed in Broly's arms, I use instant transmission to get back into attacking position. Beerus is a mass of glowing energy, his rage higher than anything I'd ever seen. Regardless, I kept up the pressure. He had the advantage, but I had no plans to let him keep it. He blocked both of my punches, a snarl ripping through the air as his tail slaps me across the face. I used the extra momentum to turn, catching him in the face with my elbow, ascending back into rows to combine another 2 hits into the assault. I can feel the creak of the bones in my hand as I hit him again, and again blocked, dodged, and used every ounce of strength and will I had. With a pop I was several hundred feet below, my hands cupped in front of me. There was a roar as Broly released his attack, a ball of energy so bright it lit the night sky like a sun. It contained 3 times the energy I had in my own body, and was the largest attack this universe had ever held witness to. And I'm going to make it bigger, I thought as the screeching whir of my own attack filled my ears. The ball of energy slammed into Beerus, sparks flying, filling the air for miles around. I could feel him slowly overpowering the attack, just as I expected he would. Now Broly, I yelled before another pop of air had me just feet behind Broly's Planet Crusher. This was the penultimate moment of this battle. If we could pull this part off without a hitch, I felt we had a better chance than not of beating, perhaps even killing Beerus. With a flick of my energy, I released the KLL beam I had built, the attack slamming into and combining with Broly's Planet Crusher. The attack grew and grew, and I could feel Beerus on the other side falling back, instead of gaining ground. Behind me, I could feel Broly's energy swell, an ocean of energy building like a tidal wave. This next part was going to hurt like a bitch, potentially cripple me, but I could tell it would make all the difference. The gargantuan attack in front of me heaves before a massive beam of black energy shoves it away into the atmosphere high above. Kaioken, I yell, the ability doubling my power level to 88T instantly. I could feel the energy swell within me, pouring off of me like water as I popped back into existence, just a foot from Beerus, my fist already reared back. His hand still occupied by the beam he's used to shove our attack away. He has no defense when I reach him. I feel his head literally flex from my attack, launching him away from me, my blazing form following right along. I can tell he's starting to take us seriously, our all-out assault making him realize that we're a real threat. I can tell this because when I reach him, he blocks my kick like it's nothing. His follow-up attack so quick my timing is off, and I take it hard to the chin. I'm able to tank it though, and we quickly trade blows back and forth. I see you've finally found some strength, brat. Beerus yells, catching me knee but missing the haymaker I threw. Fuck you, I reply, pushing as much of my energy into my limbs as I can. Super Saiyan Rose Kaioken is a killer, a recent development after showing all of my forms and abilities to Broly. I'd only managed to hold it for 25 seconds the first time before I fell into a coma for 48 hours. The second time I ended the ability after 30 seconds, and still had to eat a senzu bean afterward, otherwise I risked passing out. How the hell Goku could handle it for as long as he did, I have no idea. I'm almost certain that if I tried holding it for that long, I would literally die again. With all of that being said, I was at nearly 45 seconds, and I hadn't dropped dead yet. Just a few moments longer. I think as I block a tail strike that would have crippled me. I quickly glance back towards Broly. Broly is about 30 feet behind me now, off slightly to the right. His aura is still, almost frozen around him, pressed against his skin like a tight suit, the bright green almost seeming to vibrate as its intensity increases. Where before he was a star in the night sky, now he's burning brighter than the sun. I can literally feel the heat from where I'm fighting. 3, 2, 1. I think, blocking another strike aimed at my throat. There is a roar behind us, an almost guttural scream of rage and anger as Broly seems to literally explode. I use instant transmission to dodge the shockwave of energy, popping back into existence on the far side of Broly after it passes, dropping Kaioken and shoving a senzu bean into my mouth in nearly the same motion. My vision wavers instantly, flashing so hard to black that I'm pretty certain I'm dying. I feel every bit of energy leave me, but chew the senzu bean anyway. With a burst of energy and an alert telling me that I've earned another Zenkai, my vision snaps back into focus in time to see Broly transform once more. His mass triples, his body so different from before that he appears to be a different person entirely. Gaining about 3 feet in height and 150 pounds of pure muscle, Broly is the epitome of Saiyan strength. The fact that he's still in legendary Super Saiyan God form is just a bonus. The most telling thing, however, in regards to his newfound strength, is that even Beerus has a wary look on his face. He glances at me before his eyes settle onto Broly, the real threat and obvious choice for his attention. With Kaioken, my power level was 88T, and I was more than holding my own against Beerus. As he was now, Broly's power level was at 241T, and growing at a massive yet steady rate. I could only be glad that Broly was on my side. I blinked, and Broly's massive fist was slamming into Beerus's stomach, doubling him over and possibly breaking something. The crack of the universe shattering from the force of the blow, almost music to my ears. I ascend back to Super Saiyan Rose, watch for the perfect opening, and with another push back into Super Saiyan Rose Kaioken, I throw myself back into the battle. My kick slams into Beerus' head, launching his body back into attack distance for Broly, whose giant hand snags him from the sky by his foot. Yank him down onto a rising knee that Beerus manages to get a hand between, but it does nothing to stop the attack. Broly rears back, slamming another fist into Beerus that throws him back my way, where I flip over and hammer fist him down towards the planet. With 2 pops, I appear at Broly's side and grab his shoulder. The second pop has us appearing far below, Beerus' form dropping quickly towards us. In sync, I bring my hands together in front of me, a roiling mass of energy snapping into existence between them. Beside me, the world flashes between green and real color as he forms his own attack. What feels like minutes is only seconds, and we're ready to end this once and for all. KLL Beam. Eraser Cannon. We release our attacks as one, the attacks, green and pink, swirling around each other like the helix of DNA. The tip a mass of coalescent energy. High above, Beerus seems to right himself, but it's far too late to begin a defense. Where before I said our combined attack was the largest the universe had ever seen, it was now to be replaced by this. The combined might two of the strongest being in the universe, all aimed at one insufferable ass. The attack slams into Beerus high above, hesitating for a moment before swiftly swallowing him whole, carrying him off the planet. Combat has ended. Enemies. Beerus LVL 39. 7 250,000 XP. 286,000 XP / 11 000,000 XP. Plus 7 250,000 XP. 7 536,000 / 11 000,000 XP. Till LVL 26. I drop Kaioken again, munching on another Senzu bean as my vision flickers. I feel my power level go up again, and a quick check tells me I gained a point in battles and another god-powered Zenkai. It's over Broly, we got him. I tell him from where I'm kneeling. As Broly begins to respond, my attention is torn away by a sudden alert on my HUD. Combat has started. Enemies. God of Destruction Beerus LVL 39. 27 250,000 XP. My eyes widen before I look up high into the sky. Larger than the sun appears in the sky. A boiling ball of black destructive energy appears high above. I can sense the energy held within it, and I know all is lost. Even combined, even with every ounce of energy within our bodies, we simply do not have enough to stop that attack. Broly, I'm going to use instant transmission to grab everyone I can. Give me some of your energy. I yell, reaching my hand out to Broly. As Broly reaches out to grab my hand, there is a flash of white as a figure appears above us. Whis? I ask, stunned. He raises his scepter, a beam of bright white blasting out, catching the planet-sized ball of energy within its grasp, before sucking back down into the scepter as though it never existed. A moment later, Beerus appears next to us, looking more battered and bruised than I'd ever seen him. His hair was burned along his right side, down to the skin that was broken and cracked in places. Blood leaked down from various open wounds. Whis, what is the meaning of this? He yelled the moment he appeared. My lord, we talked about this. Killing them would defeat the purpose. You promised you would hold your temper. Whis replies, WL, that is, I. Beerus says, looking down sheepishly. They were asking for it. Be that as it may, you promised me you wouldn't go too far. Whis answers back. Fine, fine, I'm sorry, Whis. He says sullenly. Don't apologize to me, my lord. It's the Science you nearly killed. Whis says, almost laughing. What? You don't expect me to apologize, Totio them? Beerus yells back. Hey! I yell at them both, getting their attention. I don't know what the fuck you think is going on here, but we are in the middle of a death match. As much as I appreciate the interference, Whis, this fight is between us. So thank you for saving my planet, my race, and my life. But I'd like to see this to the finish. A death match? Goodness no. This is a test, KLL, and I dare say you and your friend here have passed. Whis replies, openly laughing at me. Wouldn't you say, my lord? Barely at best. Beerus answers, looking anywhere but at us. Come now. Surely they did much better than even you expected? Whis asks. Fine, they pass. They'll be the last 2 members of the team. Beerus replies. Oh joy. Whis almost screams, his elation clear for everyone. Excuse me? Broly asks, as he finally drops down to his base form. Team for what? For what? Why, the Universal Tournament. Whis replies. I blink once, twice, thrice. The what?